Well, good morning, everybody. Today is August 14th. Welcome to our Collaboration Cafe and Monday morning Mastermind with some of the brightest people I know in the business. So I'm so glad you are here this morning. You know what's interesting? I know that many of you saw my post over the weekend, and it's always interesting what you post and the reaction you got. Well, by far, I got more responses to my little post. I have 250 likes and over 100 comments. And the post was simply this: I fired my buyer tonight and it felt great. All right. All right. So let me give you a little background, and then I'd love to, I want to talk about setting expectations or maybe educate me. Maybe I did something wrong here. So basically, I have a listing here in Imperial Cove, and I had a gentleman call me on it maybe 2 months ago. Lives up in Indiana, and he wanted. So I've been doing virtual tours for him, here and there, on top of the world, here in Imperial Cove, Patrician Oaks, those 55 plus type communities in our area. And one led to another, and these are all 130 to 150,000. Okay. He wanted something under 150 with a washer and dryer in it. As you guys know, in Pinellas County, that's very rare. Yeah. Anyways, so Saturday night he calls me 7 o'clock. Of course, I answer the phone like all of you would, and he saw a couple that he and his wife would like for me to tour. And I said, sure, Sam, no problem. Set him up for Sunday morning, and I sent him the listings. So these are the three we're going to see in order. So he had all the information. And the one was noted that there was a $90 special assessment for 3 years. Okay, that happens, right? For roofs in my community for a seawall. He calls me back 5 minutes later. Said, I'm not going to pay that $90, and I was going to come in lower anyways. I said, you know what? And I'm so glad he did, because that was a straw that broke the camel's back, as they say. And I said, Tim, I'm not your guy. I'm sorry. I think you're a tire kicker and you're wasting a lot of my time. So I think you need to find somebody else. So good luck. So it's funny. As soon as I hung up, I got an email that he unsubscribed from one home already. Just like, I felt so good about it. So I had to post that, of course. So I'd like to know from you, and I'm going to start with you, Jim, because this is how I've got you. I'll go across my board here. But what did I do wrong from the start, if anything? And I love your comments on that situation.
I don't think you've done anything wrong at all, because as you know, our time is valuable. And even if you go into a listing, and if the prices is off and they want a gazillion dollars, you're not going to list the house. And the same thing with a buyer. If that's where you qualified them, right? So you did a great job qualifying them and walk away, because you can't help everybody.
And tell me this. I'm sure you think this way too. In my gut, I knew he was a kind of a tire kicker all along, and I almost felt like saying right from that point, I should have sent him a buyer broker agreement, maybe with a minimum commission of X, because I don't know. I'm sure we've all been there. It's like, what, something just doesn't seem right. So yeah,
I do that all the time, and especially in commercial, because everybody has a dream, and then they want to do a restaurant, and all this different concept. First thing I do is like, show me the money and show me your motivation, show me your experience. And if they don't qualify for that, I just say, you know what, I'm going to send you some email, but I won't show you anything.
Yeah, and I will share this with you.
It up.
Yeah, a little more background. I knew in everything I was showing him, and everybody on this call pretty much is in our neck of the woods. And if not, you experience the same type of properties. 130 to 150,000, and you're going to nitpick the furniture. It's like, you're 5 miles from the best beach in the world. It's like, I should have known. But anyways, live and learn. That's why I'm sharing with you. Suzanne, I want to hear your thoughts.
I agree with Jim. You didn't do anything wrong. And if they're financing, if they don't call a loan officer right away, then if they pay cash, and I have to have that proof of funds right away.
Yeah.
If they don't give it to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. They were cash, and I guess I never even, asked for that, but I just figured, okay, there's some seniors retired in Indiana. They're calling on my condo. It was a 2-minute walk for me, so it was not a big deal. But yeah, that's a good idea about the proof of funds ahead of time. Let's see how serious you are. Okay, Karen, give it to me.
Well, I don't think you did anything wrong either, other than maybe you just didn't qualify them enough. Asking the questions, keeping them on the phone, I know we had one agent that would do Zoom buyer interviews, which, I mean, none of us do it. I get it. It's something that you should probably get in the habit of doing, but just qualifying them. Were they cash?
Yeah, cash. Mm-hmm.
Did you get proof of funds first?
No.
Okay.
And you're right. You know what? If he was local, we would want to talk to their lender or get proof of funds before we got in the car and drove somewhere. But because he called me on my listing and they were from Indiana, whatever, I just assumed they were. But
yeah. And what were they? Why were they purchasing? Was it going to be a second home? Were they going to move here?
Second home, yeah.
Second home. Okay. And when were they wanting to occupy it?
This winter.
Okay. So they have time. But I mean, like I said, I don't, we could sit here and criticize all day long. It's not really criticize, it's constructive criticism,
Sure.
I guess.
Yep.
We want to help people. We're there, and it was easy. It's your listing, you're right there. And it's like, yeah, this is easy, no problem. I'll help you. But yeah, I just think being more not insistent, but just the qualification of the buyer and walking them through that questionnaire.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I almost wish I pulled the plug earlier, but that's okay. I did. Okay, Mr. Escobar, give me your 2 cents and all your expertise.
Well, a couple of years ago, I had Ylopo, and Ylopo is a lead generating platform. It was very expensive. And I got this buyer call on a house in Bel Air on the water. Okay, guy's a cash buyer. And I have a philosophy. The first one's free. The first showing's free. And so he goes over there, it's on the water. He sits in there. He says, I want to feel it, and they own some sort of a printing company and stuff. He says, I want to make an offer on it. I said, that's great. I said, all I need is, it was like 900,000. I said, all I need is proof of funds. He said, I'm a cash buyer. All I heard was crickets. I've never even heard from the guy ever again. So, I guess the message is, sometimes you feel a little uncomfortable asking for proof of funds, but I think it's imperative. You get proof of funds from them. If they're a cash buyer, I wouldn't bend on it. That's
I think a very good point. And everybody here is fairly seasoned. We have a few, rookie type agents, but we preach that, right? We tell our agents, like, proof of funds or pre-qualification letter, right? We're not going to show them a property until we do. And yet when we get a lead off the internet, which a lot of them are tire kickers. You're right, Ed.
Well, I'm coming up with a new product. It's called the Red Brick. I'm going to sell it for $39.95. So whenever that happens, you go into your office, you grab the brick and you smack yourself on the forehead. So you never forget it again.
Good idea. Maybe fill it with some red dye just to make it even more,
and then print on your forehead.
Right. Very good. Thanks, Ed. Carrie, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
First of all, I think that price range is usually the most difficult because they're always nickeling and diming.
Good point.
But I think education is the key up front, and the proof of funds and the pre-qualification letter. But there are a lot of people up north that have no idea really what it costs to live in Florida. And if they're going to get something for 150, it's a steal, and they're going to have to repair it, upgrade it, and all that. So these people that think they're just going to move down here for a house for 150,000 and love everything about it, you've got to really educate them and tell them, no, especially when it's in the area that you're suggesting, it's that close to the beach. It's more of a, if you want to live in Florida, you have to take it and turn this shell into something that you want it to be. Do you see what I mean?
No, I think it comes down to educating
and so what that you have a $90,000 or a $90,000
$90.
assessment, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? You're in Florida and you're that close to the beach.
Yeah.
And I just, if I can't get them into that mind frame, then I just
Yeah.
don't go on with them.
Yeah, and Carrie,
I
this
can't-
is this is probably the 12th or 15th condo I showed him. And when he said, I'm not paying that assessment, I said, let's ask the sellers to pay it. Well, I was going to come in low anyways. I said, you know
Mhm.
what? I'm not your guy. Adios.
And these people that think they're coming in low, I have to remind them what the statistics from the Florida Board of Realtors say and what my general area of what the listing and the selling prices are statistically. And I tell them, at this point in time, 750 to 1,000 people are moving into Florida every day. That's what they were telling us.
Mhm.
And there is no lowballing right now. I mean, essentially, on the whole,
Mhm.
again, if I can't teach them that and they won't understand it, then we're not on the same playing field.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Carrie. Go ahead, Colleen, unmute and share.
Well, I agree. You didn't do anything wrong, but I'm just learning too and how to weed through them because we get excited when we have a buyer and it seems like a good thing. So I had one from Pennsylvania that I did the same thing with, just like you, looking for these $150,000 condos and wanted everything and then wanted to lowball. So I kind of wrote her off. I still send her stuff, but
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and I not only was it was my listing that's been on the market for 3 months that has had almost no showing. So, I was anxious, most importantly for my seller, but obviously, look at, as Karen said, we are in the business of helping others and wanting to, get a transaction done for both parties. And so that's why we kind of jump sometimes, live and learn. And I've learned there as well, and along with all of your input. Sean, I know you do mortgages mostly, but I'd still love your opinion on the situation.
Yeah, I don't think you did anything wrong, but the pre-qualification is the first step, I think. And pre-qualification meaning for realtors, are they really serious? Are they just going to send you out and show property? And what I do on my part is, if a buyer comes in and they don't want me to pull their credit, or they don't want, there's certain triggers, right? If you don't want me to do certain things, then I know you're not serious. And I know you're just wasting my time. So I think on a real estate front, getting them, if they're cash, the first step is send me your bank statement. I want to see that you have the money. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, then you're not a real buyer, because you're going to have to do that for an offer anyways. So if you it's just like when you advertise on any platform, Facebook or whatever, the more questions you put in front of them, the more quality of a lead they are. So I think it's the same thing with a buyer. If they won't show you certain things, and they say certain, I guess the trigger when they say, oh, I want a deal, or I'm going to come in, if they don't understand the market, then you're wasting your time. So I think the more things you can do up front to make them commit to showing you stuff, then they're serious. Otherwise, they're not.
Yeah, good point. Lisa, you're an old pro here. Share.
Well, especially when they come in and they say they're cash buyers, and I say, well, before we write an offer, you have to sign all this paperwork, but I need to see proof of funds. And they'll say, well, I'll get it to you tomorrow. I'll say, well, then we'll write the offer tomorrow. But when I get the letter, a lot of times they're fake. And if you call, you can find out that they're not truly, and a lot of times if they come with a lender letter that somebody I never heard of or a bank I've never heard of, I call them. And so I had this discussion about a month ago with another realtor that is at another company. And she's like, well, that's an invasion of their privacy. I said, no, it's not. They're telling you that they want to buy a house and you're asking for proof of funds or a bank statement. This is your job. You need to verify that in order to be able to, represent them properly. Or if it's your seller, the same thing, you can ask that of the other agent. They have to do their job. So I don't know what the big deal is. People get all weird and they're not really serious.
Yeah, you make a good point. Sherry, you were nodding your head there, right? About the fake loan paper.
Absolutely. As a title company, we get, I get a lot of realtors that rely on me to check stuff out just because of my legal background. I'm like, not MacGyver, but I can find anybody and I can look up anything and I could tell you what is real and what is not, without even calling. Because of being in this business for as long as I have, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I see fake payoffs all the time. I see fake bank statements all the time. And I had a situation this past weekend. I have a realtor that I did a lot of work with. She moved to North Carolina. So she wants to partner up with me as an EXP agent to like a referral, to give me her referrals. And the one kid, we went down, everything's fine. We're looking for his house. We're going to get under contract this week. But then the second people, they kept telling her, oh, we're approved for 600. And I said, well, did you see a pre-approval letter? And she said, no. And I said, well, I'm going to go down to Parrish, from Parrish down to Venice, and show the property since they already scheduled the appointment. And then, so the appointment was scheduled for 6. And when I sent her a couple properties, she had told the other realtor that I'm just not a good realtor, and she doesn't know why I sent her these properties, even though they were exactly like the property we were going to see. And she only wanted to look in the 400,000 range. So we get down there and the appointment was at 6, and she texts me at 5:45 that I'm late and they're not interested in seeing any properties. And then I was like, well, wait a second. We were there at 6 and we had appointments. But then after that, she just said that she only wanted to deal with Dawn. And I think from the beginning, she wasn't even pre-approved. She wouldn't even show Dawn a pre-approval letter. So it's not like the old days. When I was 19, I did work for a company called Navigato Realty. And it could be a time where open houses were really, this was in the 90s, where open houses, you could go in for the purpose of buying, really wanting to buy that house, and realtors really wanted you to buy that house. And now open houses are really just to connect to new people, right? And even now, I mean, you could go look at 100 houses with a realtor, but now we as realtors have to be stern on getting pre-approval letters, proof of funds, even if they say, oh, my mom's going to buy it. Okay, great. Number 1, where's your mom? Number 2, show me proof of funds. And a letter from mom's not going to work. Yeah. Because if you're ready to sign that contract, what's every realtor going to want? Yep. Proof of funds. And then we don't waste our time going and showing houses. Now, everybody may have gone to college here, right? They want you to sign up for classes before you even know what money you're getting. And I always thought that was a little backwards. Why would I want to sign up for something I don't know I could afford? Same thing in real estate. Why would you want to show someone a $600,000 home that could only, with the way the rates are and the insurances, could only afford $350? Why waste any of our time, including them? That means that you have their best interest in mind. Yeah. And if they don't understand that, that's not the right person.
Yeah, you're right, Sherry. Thank you. Hey, and congratulations, Sherry. Sherry won best costume. That was great.
I'll post that picture in the chat.
Oh, we've seen those pictures already. Well done. Yeah. Mr. Hooker, I got you up next, sir. Go ahead. You share some of your wisdom.
Well, I had to take a call during that story, but I just want to go on record saying, John, you messed up big time. I've always wanted to say that.
I know I did. And you know what? Let's face it. Don't we all help each other learn more when we screw up versus all that, because we all have so many accomplishments, but we don't learn as much from them as we do from the not errors we make, but just the lessons that we can take and share with others. And Mike, I'm glad you joined us. I'm sorry I got that invitation to you late, but what we're talking about was I had the opportunity to fire basically a buyer this weekend because the guy was just, I think, just wasting my time. And after a couple of months of virtually showing him property, I said, you know what, I'm not your guy. So we're just kicking around the room, what I could have done differently. And for those who don't know Mike, Mike is a retired New York City cop who's moved down here to the Tampa Bay area, was with the Hillsborough Sheriff's Department for 4 years and just got his license. So Michael, we're thrilled that you're looking around at different opportunities. And again, thank you for all your service to the
Thank you.
community. So thank you very much. So just so you know, Mike, we do this every Monday morning at 9. I record it and then upload it into our Collaboration Cafe YouTube channel and on Facebook as well. So be free to listen, but I'll pick on you last, okay?
Okay.
So Ms. Bowman, go ahead. Share you've been in business for a while. What do you think I could have done differently, or what would you have done?
Oh God, I could write a book about buyers. I had a buyer, same thing, John. I don't think you did anything wrong because you want to help. And again, she was looking for, condo or little house, 1 bedroom, under 150,000. And I mean, I talked to her a lot. I sent her properties and, I wanted to sit down and meet with her, but she didn't have time. Anyway, long story short, I finally said to her, Karen, I don't think this is working. I think that what you're looking for isn't out there, and I'm real sorry, but I can't help you. And I have a buyer now. This is kind of funny. I've known the family for about 12 years. I sold his brother a house. I sold his parents' house. I sold his mother-in-law's house. And anyway, so he and his wife are living in a house owned by the mother-in-law. And anyway, he called me and said, I'm ready to buy a house. So I said, okay. And he sent me like a $700,000 listing. I know the family, and I thought there's no way he can afford a $700,000 house. And he says, no, I'm getting pre-approved. And he was going through the process. And so I called the lender and said, how can he afford this? I know this guy. And he said, well, he told me that when they sell the house they're in, which was the mother-in-law's house, that he was going to put down 300,000 for, for a down payment. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. So I talked to the buyer and I said, has your mother-in-law told you this? Have you talked to her? And he goes, well, no, I haven't talked to her, but my wife has. And I said, what is she saying? And anyway, so then I did a meeting and I had the mother-in-law, the wife and the husband there, and we talked. And after we got done, the mother-in-law called me and said, I'm not giving them $300,000. I said, I figured something was off, So anyway, I said and he kept sending me these properties. First property he sent me was that $700,000 one. And I happened to be going to Ormond Beach that weekend. And I said, well, I could show it to you coming this week. Well, he called, it was on Zillow, and he called, he filled out the form on Zillow. A realtor called him, met him at the house, and said, are you working with a realtor? He told me that he told him yes, but I found out afterwards he said no. And I thought, okay, I don't like this. And then long story short, I talked to the mother-in-law and I said, you're going to have to do a gift. I said, you can't just put money in his account because a lender will say, where's this coming from? And so anyway, it was a process of educating. And I think that's a real big part of real estate. So many people don't know the process. I mean, I did an estimated net sheet and he went, oh, wow. And, I don't know why they don't know, because real estate is in the news all the time, but they really think that they can buy this humongous house and they'll be fine. So this week we're having the conversation with all of them, and he keeps sending me houses, and I said, as soon as you get your house on the market, then we can go look. Yeah. I said, my policy is we don't look until your house is on the market, because when you write an offer and say, well, I have to sell my house first, I said, if I was working with the seller, I'd be real cautious about that and probably advise them no. Yeah. So I gave him a list of about 12 big things, and he wanted to list it 3 weeks ago, and he's still working on cleaning it up. Yeah. And painting and getting rid of all the clutter. And So anyway, it's just a waiting game, and that's okay. I mean, I can wait. I'm not losing any time. But it took me a while to be able to be strong enough to say, I'm not showing you these houses until your house is on the market. And that's always been my Achilles heel, that buyer broker agreement thing. It always has
Well,
been.
I think, most of us, when we have the relationships with our customers, that buyer broker agreement really isn't necessary. It kind of is for those you don't know, but it's still very hard to enforce anyways.
Yeah.
I've got a similar situation with a lady who's in love with this property. She was the neighbor of a listing I recently had, Suzanne, over in Marine Parkway there, that Dr. Maria next door. But she must sell her property prior to even making an offer on something else. The problem I'm running into, or not the problem, but we're having a conversation this week, is she wants maybe 150,000 too much for her home. And I'm gonna take her around like an HGTV show and show her the competition in her neighborhood that's been on the market for 90 days and not selling, cheaper and a better home. So again, I think communication is key. And for Mike and Tyler and our other new agents here, it's a process. It's an education. Do not assume that any one of your customers knows anything about real estate or how it works. And we always have to constantly remind them, and hey, call me with any questions. I'm the go-to person for anything. And it's all relationship building. So thank you.
Even when you're new in the real estate business, I mean, you get your license, you already know more than 90% of the people out there. So, go for it. I want to say this. I had, when I was brand new in the business, I was working for ERA, and we had an office inside of a Walmart. And I loved that office. I mean, I'd go in there and this guy shows up, and he's got long, strangly hair. It looks like he hasn't washed his hair in a couple weeks. He's wearing a t-shirt and terry cloth shorts. And I mean, he really looks dumpy, right? And he walks in and he says, I want to go look at some homes. Now, keep in mind, I'm brand new in the business. I want to go look at some homes on saltwater canals. I said, okay. And I'm thinking, of course, I'm judging the book by the cover, which I shouldn't have done. And I said, well, let's sit down. And what I did is I said, where do you currently live? And he gave me his address. And I looked it up on Flagler, PA. I said, let's take a look at your house and I'll show you an aerial photo of it. And I show him, and it was on a saltwater canal. And it was him. The guy drove a brand new Cadillac, and he bought 6 saltwater canal homes from me. So although it is the rule to know your client has the money, the exception is every once in a while they do.
Yeah.
But I agree with what everybody's saying. You need to get proof, and maybe it's how you approach it that'll make it more smooth for them. And because the last thing you want to do is insult them. And if they have money and they feel insulted by what you just said to them, you just lost them as a client.
Yeah, you're right. Well, maybe one of these upcoming Mondays we can talk about the proper way to do that. And Carrie, I think, after next week's mastermind, when we're talking with David Bennett, maybe the buyer broker agreement would be something that we should look into, because I think it is going to come into play with the after the suit is settled one way or the other. It's not a bad idea. And I came up with a very non-legalese type one when I was running my former brokerage, but most of us on this call probably have never used a buyer broker agreement or are just afraid to, but we always would never list a home without a listing agreement. So it's almost like listing a buyer, and it's all like what many of us have said here on how you approach something. So I think that's a good point.
I would just like to hear people who have done it, how they have done it elegantly.
It's a great topic for a future mastermind. So thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. Hey, John Holsfield down in Pine Island. Love your thoughts this morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
everything that's been said has been good, but I think, you know, my approach is to serve first. And then once you get to that point where, okay, I'm being walked on, then it's time to end it. And I think it all kind of goes with where you are in your journey. If you're kind of new and starving, you know, you've got a little bit more of a grace period to work with people, because, you know, you just are trying to make anything happen. Whereas people who are more advanced in the business and they've got, you know, a lot of clients and their time is really crucial, they tend to have a shorter leash.
Yeah.
For people like that.
Yes.
So,
John, I agree completely. And you know what, to be honest, it had nothing to do with the price point for me. I don't care if it was 150 or 1.5 million. It was the fact that, you know, what I got the sense that what he was asking and what he was expecting was never going to happen. So therefore I ended it. But I agree with you. And it all depends too on your, you know, where you are in the market and do you need that customer, etc. A lot of it goes into play. But I've learned, okay, I will get the pre-approval or the pre-qual going forward, because that will let you know if these people are serious or not. I'm working with a young man right now who's he is doing everything he needs to get a loan, the credit repair, etc. You know he's serious. He's listening to everything that we are suggesting he does, and he follows up with me. You can tell that he's going to be a real purchaser in the future. So thank you, John, for that. Rachel, go ahead, dear.
So I think everyone putting everyone's 2 cents are really good. I think for all those years of experience, and we always go through these kind of relationship with clients, and I am very cautious comes to, especially as a buyer's agent, you know, they have to be willing and ready. So, and able is for you to find out they're able or not. So that's first thing first. And I usually go into really deep, in-depth conversation about who they are, what they really want, and then give them a really good introduction of the market, what area, what price range, and I disencourage any lowball. You know, last 2 offers that we made with 2 different clients, and they're insisting on lowballing, and I just don't want to deal with that, because you're not going to get it. I know there's going to be multiple offers, and which they did. They went pending right away. So each of the lessons, you have to validate that you are the agent that they have to go by with experience and knowing your market knowledge is top of top, plus your service. And so I think each of the qualification of your conversation of getting to be the best agent they only go to, and of course it's up to you, that if you think that's a tire kicker, you should just end. Because they're just wasting time.
Yep, you're right. Thank you, Rachel. Tyler, if you'd like to chime in, I know you're new to the business, but I'd love your 2 cents from a new agent's perspective, if you'd like to share. If you're there. I'm sure he's just taking copious notes, as they say, right? Cindy, I don't believe we've met. If we have, I apologize for not remembering. So if you'd like to unmute and share your thoughts and where you currently are.
Cindy Kleidemeyer is a friend of mine. Her and her husband, longtime friends. They're out in Maryland. And Cindy has just decided to enter the world of real estate. And I want to welcome you to the call, Cindy. Thank you for showing. And tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. I can relate to this. I've worked in sales for the past 35 years, but it's been computer sales. I have just decided that I would like to change, take a different look at life. I've spent the last 20 years mostly doing traveling across the United States, and I just want to settle down. My husband and I are looking at retiring in the next couple of years. I want to find something a little bit simpler, yet use my sales experience where I can. We live in Maryland currently. We have land in Tennessee, and we also have a home in Port Orange. So we are traveling around, and I am working on my license. Hope to get it by the end of September.
Well, well done. Congratulations. Like, I think all of us think that this is a very fulfilling career, whether it be part-time, full-time. You know, we don't sell homes. We help people, you know, just make changes in their lives, whether they be, you know, upsizing or downsizing. And, you know, we've all got stories that we can share, and that's what it's all about. And I think your experience is going to come in very handy in this business. It's every transaction is a little different. Every customer is different. And, you know, look at the end goal is to help that family one way or the other move, sell, whatever it is. And never worry about commission dollars. It's those who look at the dollars never will make it in this business. And so that's what I would suggest to anybody new in the business. So welcome aboard. Good luck with the test.
Thank you.
Good. Tyler, are you there? And if not, it's okay.
Let me add something.
Go
You
ahead.
mind, John?
Sure.
You know, to add a little bit, Rachel, I loved your comments. It's very important that if you have a buyer that is a serious buyer, but they're lowballing you. I had a guy, Richard and Tammy Kolak. My God, I'd show him a home. They had the money, and he would always do 100,000 under the asking price. And I knew, like you did, Rachel, that that's not the market for that. You have to have the courage to tell them that. You've got to be strong as a professional and say, listen, I can put that offer in. I'm obligated to do that, but it's a waste of your time because they're not going to take it. You know, this is the market right now. If you're interested in this house, you like this house, then get aggressive with it. And I had this actual conversation with Richard, and he drove me crazy, but he ended up buying a house from me. But so, you know, it could also be a test for you because they want to know that you're strong-minded and you're going to do right by them. And that's all part of being a professional real estate agent.
Terry, I know that Ed's got a couple of closes that would definitely work with this. And Ed, one of the ones I remember is when you pull up the dollar bill. Can you share that one? Go ahead. You're muted, Ed.
I use this one all the time. In fact, I used it on that one that was on Sunset Drive. Yeah, because the guy was just way out of price, you know. So I showed him the comps and everything. So I took out a dollar bill. His name was Bobby. I said, Bobby, if I gave you this dollar bill and I said, go down to the mall and sell them for 70 cents, how many did you sell? He goes, I could sell them all. What's your point? I said, I'm getting there. I said, what if I gave you this dollar bill and I said, go down to the mall and sell them for 80 cents? How many could you sell? I could sell them all. I said, well, what if I gave you this dollar bill and I said, go to the mall and sell them for $1.25? How many could you sell? I said, none. I said, then why would you ask me to do that with your house?
Yeah, and that's the funny thing about Richard. He was doing that. He had top dollar on his house and he was holding out for it. I'm like, so you want the best price for your home, but you're not willing to pay somebody else what their home is worth.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting, Terry, and that's why I love Ed's twist on things. And I had a great conversation yesterday morning with a young man. We met for coffee, and bright kid, 20 years old, plays hockey for St. Leo. It's just, I use your pizza line, Ed, on burning your mouth on pizza. When, you know, my point here is to turn somebody's thinking around. Like when in Terry, in your situation, you have somebody who wants to underbid by 100 grand. Okay. Would you, if you were the seller in that situation, would you take an offer for 100 grand less? And let's not insult these people's, you know, their position. We want to encourage people to make a counter offer. And by doing that, come in with a fair offer. I guess my point with Ed's, you know, twist on things is to think that way to get people to change their mindset so that they can see it more in your right. Go ahead, Ed.
The definition of closing is the ability to crystallize someone's thinking. It's got to make sense, you know, and putting the shoe on the other foot close is a great one for here. Let's put the shoe on the other foot and say you're the seller. Okay, would you entertain that?
Yeah.
Hey, now, Terry, I want to get with you because I want to do one of my closing workshops again. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have asked me to do this. Okay, so I'll call you later today. Maybe we could work something out. Okay.
Sounds good, Ed.
All right.
You know, it's funny because Richard, there was no loyalty there. He wanted to get the best deal regardless. He even went to the seller of the house he ended up buying through me and saying, why don't we just eliminate these real estate agents? I'll give you X amount of dollars. I was like, are you? And the other agent called me on the phone and said, you know what your client just did? And he had sent them an email. I was like, oh my God, you know, this guy would sell out his own mother for a penny.
Thanks for sharing that, Terry. Does anybody have any closing thoughts or any questions for us?
No, but we'll plan, August 28th, we'll do the buyer broker class, okay?
Perfect. Yep. I'll be very prepared for that, and see if I can find the one that I wrote myself, because the Florida Realtors has one. It's 3 pages and a little bit more complicated than it probably needs to be. And obviously we'll see if EXP has one as well. So good idea, Karen. Good. Michael, thank you for joining us today. I hope you got something out of this. And again, I will post this on the Facebook page. It's recorded, and I think these are valuable things to listen to and learn. And if you have any questions along the line, Mike, or we need help with anything, just let me know. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And again, thanks for joining us and your service, everybody. Have a great day. What do we got coming up, Karen? Anything that we need to second Saturday in September?
We're starting back up our second Saturday at the Collaboration Cafe in person on Curlew Road in Palm Harbor. We will be doing, I think our first one is going to be
vision boards.
Vision board. Thank you. Yes, your vision board. So we're going to kind of gear up for the rest of the year, and then we're going to take it into gearing up for a strong start of 2024. Okay, so that will be in person. We will provide the boards, but I'll get everyone out in an invitation, and for those that want to attend, I might just have you bring like magazines.
Yeah, and for those of you who aren't local, maybe we can stream it for you and get I think vision boards are a great idea for looking.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Karen, for setting that up. All right,
Yeah,
everybody. Yes,
Terry,
go ahead.
Terry's having one too. Terry's having an event if anyone's over in the Daytona area, Palm Coast area.
Palm Coast, yeah. The event's on September 14th. It starts at 12:30. There's going to be lunch provided. It's going to be at the Palm Coast Community Center, and it's going to be on agent safety for September, which is Agent Safety Month. And this gentleman that's going to be the speaker, he trains military and sheriff's departments self-defense. So he certainly has a lot of great things to talk about, and we're going to have several giveaways as well. So if you are up to driving over, we'd love to have you. There is an Eventbrite. Please go there and get a free ticket. We'd love to see you.
Thank you, Terry. Carrie, did you want to say something?
Yeah. John invited me to this lovely collaboration cafe, which I just think is fabulous. And thank you so much. And in one of his emails, it said that last week we discussed how we introduce ourselves to people and the importance of coming up with a unique introduction that is short and sets us apart from other realtors in people's minds. Is that on YouTube? Did we record that? Is that on YouTube?
Well, all of the recordings are posted on the Collaboration Cafe Facebook page also.
Facebook
Are you a
page.
member of that?
Okay, perfect. But that is recorded.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And Carrie,
Done.
I'll make sure you get it, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Carrie, for the reminder. Thanks. Okay, everybody, anything else?
Cindy, thank you for coming.
Go ahead,
If you have
Colleen.
any questions, please call me.
Yes, go ahead, Colleen.
Do we have any agents on our team or anyone we know up close to the Chassahowiska River?
Where is that?
That's up by Homosassa.
So like Spring Hill, maybe?
Yeah, it's a weird piece. It's an island that this guy wants
Yeah.
a value on. And I'm like, and that's a tough one. You almost have to know the area. So I didn't know if we had an agent up that way.
So,
Let me look into that. I
go into
think-
Okay.
workplace, yeah, okay. Anything else, anybody?
Thank you.
Ed, have a great week.
Okay.
Let's chat today, Ed, about a couple different things, okay?
Definitely. Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.